Good morning, everyone. My name is Dimas Fajar Avisena from 12 MIPA 1, absent number 8, and I would like to recount the history of Jakarta. Jakarta, as we know it today, is a bustling metropolis and home to over 10 million people. However, this metropolis started out as a few small port settlements on the north coast of West Java. How did these small port settlements end up being the megacity that we know today as the capital of the fourth most populous country in the world? As I've mentioned earlier, Jakarta was originally the site of a few port settlements on the north coast of West Java that grew into anywhere between small towns and one of the major trading hubs of Southeast Asia. The first one of these port settlements was Sundapura, which was the oldest recorded settlement in the Jakarta area. Sundapura was built by the Tarumanagara king Purnawarman as the new capital for his kingdom in 397 CE. After the decline of the Tarumanagara, its territories became part of the kingdom of Sunda. But according to the Chinese source Chu Fanqi, in the early 13th century, the port of Sunda was described as strategic and thriving, with pepper from Sunda renowned for its supreme quality. One of the ports at the mouth of the river was renamed Sunda Kelapa. The port served Pakuan Pajajaran, present-day Bogor, the capital of the Sunda kingdom. By the 14th century, Sunda Kelapa became a major trading port for the kingdom. Then came the Portuguese, who were looking for spices, the source of the spices that came from the Indian Ocean trade. The source of these spices, mainly nutmeg, came from the Moluccas, mainly the kingdom of Ternate and Tidore. The Portuguese wanted to make a trade outpost to gain a foothold in Java in Sunda Kelapa. Now, at that point, Sunda Kelapa, which was still ruled by the kingdom of Sunda, was neighboring the Sultanate of the Mak. The Mak wants to prevent a Portuguese foothold in Java. Therefore, they attacked Sunda Kelapa in 1527 under the command of Satahila. He succeeded in conquering the harbor in 22nd of June, after which Sunda Kelapa was renamed Jayakarta. By the late 16th century, the power of the Mak has been slowly declining, and therefore Jayakarta is now in the hands of the Sultanate of Banten. And then came another European power named the Dutch. Well, the Dutch became very filthy rich through the spice trade in Indonesia. How did it happen? Well, through mainly Batavia, because Batavia was the center of their activities for a long while. Now, Dutch mercantile activities to the East Indies, as they know it, as the Europeans know it, commenced in 1595. Over the next 25 years, there would be contention between the Dutch and the British, and also the Dutch and the Sultanate of Banten and Jayawikarta. In 1610, Jayawikarta granted permission to the Dutch merchants to build a wooden godown, which was a term for a warehouse, and houses on the east bank of the Ciliwung River opposite of Jayakarta. This outpost was established in 1611. Their rivalry ultimately resolved in 1619, when the Dutch established a closer relationship with the Sultan of Banten, and military intervened in Jayakarta, where they assumed control of the port after destroying the existing settlement in Jayakarta. The newly built city on the site of Jayakarta was officially named as Batavia on January 18, 1621. During the era of the VOC, Batavia was centered on the so-called Benedinstad, or lower city. It consisted of the older harbor at Sunda Kelapa, the Chinese quarter at Lodok. In the middle of the 18th century, Batavia also included the outskirts along the canal of the Molenvliet, now Jalan Gajah Mada and Jalan Hayam Wuruk, the Noordweg, now Jalan Juanda, the Rijsweg, now Jalan Veteran, along Gunung Sahari, and Cakatraweg, now Jalan Pangeran Jayakarta. Also included were the markets at Tanah Abang and Senen, the oldest markets of Jakarta. During the colonial period, administrative buildings were relocated to the area then known as Weltevreden. The area includes the Koningsplein, or today known as Lapangan Merdeka, the Waterloo Plain, today known as Lapangan Benteng, the Noordweg, now known as Jalan Juanda, the Rijsweg, now Jalan Veteran, Tanah Abang, Kebon Sirih, and Prapatan. This area also became popular with the European colonial elite, which then became a very popular residential, commercial, and entertainment district in the city. The name Weltevreden lingered until 1931, until it officially became known as Batavia Centrum, or Central Batavia. The period also saw development of the Pasar Baru markets in the 1820s, the completion of Tanjung Priok Port in 1866, development of Menteng and Gondang Dia Garden City in the 1910s, and the inclusion of the Mr. Cornelis, now Jatinegara, into Jakarta in 1935. In 1942, the Dutch East Indies was occupied by the Japanese. Many buildings were vandalized and looted by the Japanese army because metal was needed for the war. Among the destroyed colonial landmarks during the Japanese occupation were the statue of Jan Pieterszoon Koen at Waterloo Plain. Indonesia would proclaim its independence and then fight for its sovereignty against the Dutch. But as the foundation of modern Jakarta has been discussed at this point, I conclude the video here. Thank you for listening. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.